I know it's an intensive course and it's a lot to ask in 10 classes. So I know that it's not the first time I'm teaching this. So it has to be challenging and it has to be kind of overwhelming many times. It must make everyone struggle because you need to find an extra time and you need to cope up with the pace of the class, do exercises. Of course, it's a language and it comes with effort. And with you guys being full-time students and maybe establishing your careers, it can be difficult. Okay? So that's understood. But as far as you have the recordings, you can always go back and inshallah revise at your own pace. Now that you have once gone through the entire thing very quickly, then you can start with your own pace, inshallah. Okay. Right. Any one of you want to ping others very quickly? Just if you have their number, so we can just start.
I know Maisha isn't coming, and Sunina and Hansa apologized in the group chat. So I don't know if anyone else is going to come.
So we can kick off, inshallah. So, today is the last class, most likely the last class of this entire intensive program. So hopefully today we will cover the remaining topics that we have in our coursework. They're not very difficult topics, but they are very important topics. Okay, so if you do not get everything in this class, find some time to revise the previous class and then come back to this class again, inshallah. But do not lose it. That's my only advice. So don't lose that touch that you have invested in so much in the last 9-10 days to build up with the Quran, inshallah. Okay, so let's start. So in the previous class, what we did was basically we did a present tense fi'l. Oops, we did present tense fi'ls. And we revised a little bit of the past tense. I think we did that a class before. We did the concept of the outside doer. Right, that's what we did last time. So if I go down, you have this past tense chart, which I hope that you are pretty familiar with now. And you can say out loud all of those things. If not, keep working on it. And then you have this present tense, 14 present tenses that you have. And of course, same with them. We did quite a lot of kind of logic building. How do we retain this as much as possible? So we group them together. Huwa, hiya, anta, ana, nahnu, and then we group hum and antum together, hunna and antunna together, and then in huma, antuma, and antuma together. And then we're left with huma masculine and anthi feminine as the outliers. So they were unique in their own right. So we did this chart. We practiced a lot on the Surah Munafiqun. So today's lesson is primarily around present tense. And in the present tense, we have to use this chart a little bit and just alter it to a few things. Okay. So I will go on and I will teach you those concepts. Stop me if you have any questions. If those questions are related to some understandings that you do not have from the previous class, let me know. I'm happy to revise, but the idea today is to conclude the entire coursework. And you can always go back to those, inshallah, classes and revise them. And I'll be available to you on WhatsApp if you have any questions you may want to ask. Right, so few new concepts today. So we said that we are doing present tense. So when you have a present tense, a normal state of present tense, this in Arabic is called marfu. When I say normal state of the present tense, I am actually meaning everything that you have in this chart. Okay, they're just normal present tense. Okay, they appear the way they're supposed to appear. Okay, so that's how they are appearing. So they're normal present tense. Now, don't confuse this marfu with the first lesson we did. If you remember in the ism studies, way back in the first class, when we were doing rafa, nasab, and jar, let me open up your notes and maybe show it there. So in the first page of your notes, or no, second page of your notes, look at this. You also have a marfu here, right? You also have a marfu here. Do not confuse the fi'l marfu with the ism marfu. The ism marfu meant an ism in rafa status. Okay, that's what it means. But the fi'l marfu means the fi'l is in a normal condition, the way it is supposed to be, the way it is supposed to come up in this chart, right? Nothing is changing and it's just normal. That's what it means. Okay, don't confuse there. In the present tense world, there is another form or state of a fi'l that is called the light fi'l, a light state or a light fi'l. Okay, this form in Arabic is called mansub. Just like the ism, there was a mansub of ism, which you have in your notes, this one, mansub. Now, this was the ism in nasb status, right? Now, that's not that mansub. The fi'l mansub means there's something that has happened to this fi'l that has changed it a little bit. Okay, it looks a little different. Okay, so that's the mansub state. Okay, and we'll learn this state today. It's very easy. It's not difficult. And the third, final one is the lightest. The fi'l can go lightest state, which means majzoom. You don't have to remember these terminologies. I'm just giving out to you because if you ever take any program of Arabic anywhere, they might be using these terminologies in a ism context or in a fi'l context, and so you don't feel left out. It's a jargon that you need to know, right? So you don't have to memorize these terms. Just say, okay, present tense can be normal, light, and lightest. That's what you need to know. Okay. So there are three states of present tense: normal, light, and lightest. And normal is something that is in the chart. Okay, the way it shows up in the chart. What we need to learn today is that what is the light and what is the lightest form of the fi'ls. Okay, that's the first topic we need to learn. The second topic we need to learn is what makes them light or lightest. And the third topic we need to learn is how are they used when they're light or lightest? What's the benefit out of it? Okay? What do we use them for? Right? So these are three things we need to do. Now, first, we are going to start with the light fi'ls. Okay? Light form of fi'ls. Now, remember, these light and lightest concepts only and only apply to present tense. They don't apply to past tense, right? So only present tense. Okay? What I'm going to do, I'm going to give you two rules, very simple to remember. The light form of the present tense says that if the fi'l ends with a dhamma, if a fi'l ends with a dhamma, then what should we do? Change it to fatha. Okay? Change it to fatha. That's rule number one. Okay? The second rule, if the fi'l ends with a noon, then remove the noon. And that's all. That's it. Nothing else. Okay? If you're able to achieve these two things, you have made the present tense light. Okay? So what we will do is we'll pick up the chart and we will make the present tense light so we know what we're talking about, right? So just copy this chart here and just paste it here. Okay? So we had huwa yansuru. Now the question I'm asking, and I'm looking at the ending. This is all about ending. If it ends with, okay, not the beginning. Okay, so ending. So I'm asking if this is ending with Dhamma. Yes, it is ending with Dhamma. So I'm going to change it to Fatha. Huwa yansuru becomes huwa yansura. Right? Hiya tansuru becomes hiya tansura. Anta tansuru becomes anta tansura. And ana ansuru becomes ana ansura. And nahnu nansuru becomes nahnu nansura. So you've made these 5 fails, the green ones, in the light form, just by changing the Dhamma to the Fatha. Okay? That's how you make it. Now, the second rule says, if the fail ends with noon, remove the noon. Okay? So let's see which ones are with noon. Basically, all of the others are with noon. So we're going to go and start removing the noons. So huma yansurani becomes huma yansura. Hum yansuruna becomes hum yansuru. Now, in Arabic, there's a spelling thing. So whenever you have a u ending like this with a wow, it's a tradition, it's a spelling thing, it's a syntactical thing that you put an alif in the end. Okay, so alif in case of present tense here does represent that noon was removed. Okay, it's an indicator to you. So this is a ya beginning and u ending like this, which is telling you there's a noon that was removed. So it's just a spelling thing. Okay, and huma tansurani becomes huma tansura. Hunna yansurna does not change. The hunna and antunna, the feminine plurals, third person, second person, they don't change. Okay, they stay the same. Okay? Then we go to the other ones. Antuma tansurani becomes antuma tansura. Antum tansuruna becomes antum tansuru. And because I've removed the noon and it's a vowel ending, what am I going to do? Put an alif. Okay, right. Anti tansurina becomes anti tansuri. Antuma tansurani becomes antuma tansura. And that's it. Here is your present tense light chart. Okay, this is the fi'l mansub, the light present tense. If you know the main one, then you can produce the light one. Okay, easy so far? So far, so good. Getting it? Usually I'm used to thumbs up or thumbs down. Very good. Very good. Even if you have not revised or if you don't really know present tense uh, chart right now, you should understand the process. Okay, so what's the process of making a present tense light? Okay, now that's present tense lights, and that's it. That's how you make a present tense light. It is used in the Quran in various different ways and many times, and we will see some application today in the class, inshallah. Okay, now that's present tense light. So as you can see, there's a dependency syndrome in Arabic. So you need to really know the pronouns. If you don't know the pronouns, you cannot do the fails. Then you really know the fail charts. If you don't know the fail charts, then you cannot do the present tense light and the lightest. Okay, so there's a dependency of topics, right? So if you have to really go back and firm up the fails, start with your pronouns, build up the solid foundation on the charts, go listen to the lecture 2x speed where I'm speaking like crazy. Just listen to it again and again. Close the class, which is 2 hours in whatever, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, 1 hour by high speed listening. When you're cooking, when you're doing stuff, it will help you and it will firm things up for you. You don't really have to find a dedicated time. So once you've gone through this class, you know what we talked about, you can just speed listen things. Okay, I do that all the time with my courses that I do. Speed listen things. Listen to one lecture few times sometimes, right? So 3-4 times sometimes. Okay, it really helps, firms up things. Now that was the present tense light. Okay, let's move to lightest. Okay, so now we said there's a lightest form of the present tense. Lightest fi'l. Okay. Now, in the lightest fi'ls, just like the light, you also have rules. Okay, the two rules. The rule number one says if the fi'l ends with dhamma, what do? Change it to sukun. Sukun. Okay. Sukun in Arabic is also called jazm. Because it's called jazm, that's why the fi'l, which is lightest, is called majzoom, something that has taken a jazm. Okay, majzoom. Okay, that's where the term comes from. So if you find the dhamma, you change it to sukun. What did you do in the light ones? You found the dhamma, you change it to the fatha. But here you have to change it to sukun. That's step number one. Okay. Rule number two: if you find, if the not you, if the fi'l ends with noon, then just do what you did before. Remove the noon. Just remove it, right? So basically, you are going to end up in a chart very similar to this one. Very similar to this one. So let me just copy and paste to this chart and just work directly through it. Okay. So what we had here, huwa yansura, instead of huwa yansura, we had yansuru. What we're gonna do in the lightest case, replace the dhamma with a sukun. Huwa yansur. Here, hiya had hiya tansuru. We are going to replace it with sukun. Hiya tansur. Anta had anta tansuru. We're going to replace it with sukun. Anta tansur. Ana had ana ansuru. Ana ansuru. We replace it with sukun. Nahnu nansuru was the marfu form, the original, the normal form. We're going to change it to sukun. Nahnu nansur. Right? And that's the lightest form. The rule number two is exactly the same. Exactly the same as before. Just remove the noon. So we've removed the noons already everywhere. Hunna and antunna, in this case as well, they do not change. Okay? They don't change. Remains the same. Okay? Is that clear? Any questions? Confusions? Easy, right? It's not difficult. You know the thing with Arabic, when you learn specifically in the either intensive mode or in a traditional mode. So there are two modes. So we did the intensive mode, right? If the same course was done, let's say 1 hour every week, going along for the next 7 months, 8 months, you would probably be more comfortable with it, right? When you go in an intensive mode, you're learning more, so you have to catch up more. So you have to do more, right? And with busy life, it can be difficult. But then there's a traditional way of learning Arabic where you just go to some certain institute, learn the Arabic in a very traditional way. They would not start like this. They would start with the terminology. The fi'l is marfu, mansub, majzoom. So ism is marfu, mansub, and majroor and things like that. So they would overload you lots of the time with loads of terminology, okay, without really getting into the crux of the concept. So students can feel overwhelming there. That's a successful approach to learning. I mean, it has been established for a very long time, and that's a traditional way of learning too. If you go and ever study the Arabic course, let's say the books of Medina and things like that, you will find in universities and institutions doing like that. But these two approaches can be overwhelming if you're not really a committed full-time type of self-driven Arabic language student. If you're a part-time Arabic language student, where you're learning Arabic, when you are doing something else, your university, your job, or anything else, and you want to find some time to learn Arabic, those methodologies sometimes can be challenging, right? So just don't worry about the terminology too much. Just understand the concept. Make sure that you go back to the recording, revise them, keep in touch with them, inshallah, and there will come a time that when you will be super comfortable with it. I'm sure you are in many things. You are already comfortable. You're great students, right? So you will do great, inshallah. Okay. So these are the two types or states, if I may, of the present tense. So present tense can be marfu, the normal ones, can be mansub, the light ones, where the u ending, dhamma ending takes the fatha, and they can be a lightest ending, which is madzum, madzum ending, where the dhamma ending takes the sukun. Okay. Now, in the Arabic language, present tense are made light and lightest many times, and there are few harfs that actually make the present tense light. So let's focus a little bit on the light present tense. Okay. Now there are few harfs, light present tense harfs. Just like you studied the harf of jar or harf of nasab, those were harfs or hurufs that would change the status of an ism, make an ism go in jar status or a nasab status. Just like that, there are few hurufs that actually change the form of the fi'l. They change a normal fi'l into a light fi'l or a lightest fi'l. So I'm going to give you those hurufs. You don't have to firm them up in this class, but you need to know them and you need to firm them up in your own time, inshallah. Okay? And that will only help you. Okay, so from the light perspective, you may have seen the fi'l, the harfs an, and there are very few. An, lan, likay, izan, izan, and hatta. An, lan, likay, izan, hatta. These five harfs. An, lan, likay, izan, hatta. Okay, so when they come up before a present tense fi'l, they would make that fi'l light. Okay? They would make that fi'l light. Now, for example, an means to. Lan means will not. Let me put commas in the middle. Will not. Likay means so that. Izan means in that case. And hatta means until. Now, you also have a hatta as a harf of jar. If you remember, bata, kaf, lam, maw, min, fi, an, ala, hatta, ila. That is a harf of jar, hatta. That is, if that comes, that will only come before the ism. They look exactly the same and they are hattas, of course. But this particular one will come in front of the fi'l. Otherwise, that one will apply on the ism. Okay? So these fi'ls, these harfs can actually make an ism, the fi'l light. Okay, so if you have yansuru, um, if you have yansuru, okay, which means he helps. Right? That's what it means. He helps. Okay? Now, if I have lan, which is one of these harfs, And if I say yansuru, this is wrong Arabic. It cannot be lan yansuru, it can be lan yansura. Because of the lan, it is going to make this fi'l light. And this would mean he will not help. He will not help. Okay, because lan means will not. Right? So when they apply to a present tense fi'l, they first make them light. Second, they may give out a different meaning. Okay, so same as that. If I had applied hatta to it, hatta, the the logic will be same. It's gonna be hatta yansura, and this would mean until he helps. Until he helps, and you can pick up any of these, and you can apply to any of the present tense. So uh, if it was a plural, let's say a different pronoun of a present tense. So let's say we say isn't, and we say yansuru. Yansuruna is a home version, right? So isn't yansuruna would become isn't yansuru. Isn't yansuru, and isn't means in that case, and this would mean in that case they help. Okay, you get the point? So as far as you know these hurufs, you know when they show up in front of the fi'l, this fi'l actually was a normal present tense fi'l, and it is made light because of this harfs. Okay. Something about likai. Just be mindful that likai can come as likai. It can also come as li, and it can also come as kai. It doesn't change its meaning. It still means so that, but it can come as these three forms. Okay. So when it comes as li, do not confuse it with the harf of jar lam. Now you know many lams. You know harf of jar lam, bata, kaf, lam. You also know the emphasis lam that can come on anything. Now this is the third lam that we're learning. So it's a lam of light harf, present tense fail. So don't confuse it with that. This lam will only come on the fail. Now there's a difference. If there's a lam comes on a fail like this. So liyansuru, for example, or la yansuru. Let me just say la yansuru. Versus liyansuru. La yansuru versus liyansura. Okay. So the difference is lam. Sometimes haraka could may be the same too, right? But the difference, what you're looking at, is this lam is coming here, but it's not impacting the fail at all. Nothing is changing there. But when this lam shows up, this fail goes light. Now this will tell you that the first lam, this one, let's mark it red. This lam is not the light lam. It's not the lam that makes a fail light. It cannot be the lam. It's not marking it red. It cannot be the lam that is a harf of jar lam, because the harf of jar lam would come only on isms, not the fails. So the only lam that's left is the emphasis lam. So this is the emphasis lam. Now this particular one could mean he truly helps. He surely helps. Okay. And this one, because it's impacting the fail, making it light, This is a lam that makes the harf of the fi'l light. So this lam would translate to so that. So this term would be so that he helps. Okay, is that clear? Understood? Okay, very good. Just like likai, you can see izan in two forms. So izan can come as izan, just like we did. Uh, this one, but it can also come as like this. Uh, izan. Okay, so it's the same izan. That means in that case. So just a few points to note. So let me go to your page number. What is the page number? Is it 40 something? 40? Close. Okay, you did this. Yeah. So in your notes, by the way, so on page number 44, you have the entire process of making a present tense light, and then the entire process of making the present tense lightest as well. Okay. On the page 45, you have these hurufs written. An, lan, likay, izan, hatha. Your job is to memorize them. You have to memorize them. And the best case, you memorize them with the meanings. Okay. The more you have here in your head, the more effective you are in decoding and understanding what's happening in the Quran. So these ayahs are from the Quran. Okay. So for example, this particular ayah, an and yadriba. The fi'l was yadribu. And because there is an, which is one of these hurufs, it changes to yadriba. Okay. Now this one, an tasbahu. The fi'l was tasbahuna. Why would I not confuse it with the past tense? Because there's a past tense that ends with this too, like nasaru. The reason I'm not going to confuse it with the past tense because it also have a ta beginning. Okay, so it has a ta beginning and this ending, and I can see this harf in front of it, right? So I know for sure it's a present tense. And because of an, it is made light. It was originally tasbahuna. The marfu form was tasbahuna. Okay. Lan nushrika. Now, nushrika was actually nushriku. Huwa yushriku, hiya tushriku, anta tushriku, ana ushriku, nahnu nushriku. Okay, the five pharaohs. Okay. So this was made light because of the lan. Okay. Kay nusabbihaka. Nusabbihaka. Now, in this particular one, uh, Kai it's not used as likai, it is used as kai, this form. So this broken form. Okay. So it has three forms, as I said. So it is used in this form. Kai nusabbihaka. Now the fi'l here is nusabbihu, and ka is the attached pronoun. I hope you both see that. Yeah, you all see that. Okay. So the fi'l is nusabbihu. So it was huwa yusabbihu, anta hiya tusabbihu, ana sorry, and then anta tusabbihu, ana usabbihu, and nahnu nusabbihu. That was the marfu form, the normal one. It was made light by removing the dhamma in changing it to the fatha. Okay. So that is another example. Li yakuna, the fi'l was yakunu. Okay, this is huwa yakunu. Hiya huwa yakunu, huma yakunani, hum yakununa. So that's that fail, right? Now in this case, this li is used. Just an example that we were doing. So li yakuna. Now you could say if this li is a emphasis lam or is it a light harf? Okay, we know it's a light harf because it has changed the present tense from yakunu to yakuna. If there was no change, we would say it's an emphasis lam. Okay, if it was harf of jar, it would not even apply on the fi'l. Okay, hatta yaqula. Now in this case, it's clear. So it's yaqulu that is changed to yaqula, and just like that, last one, hatta yu'minna. It was yu'minnu changed to yu'minna. Okay, understood? Did you follow all of this? All clear? Very good. Very good. So let me just go further in your notes. So this is the on page number 46, you have the process of making the present tense lightest, the majzoom form, because it takes the jazm. It's all mentioned here. The charts are here. You don't need to take any notes. Just follow these notes. Okay. So once you know how to make it lightest, the next page 47 tells you 4 harfs. In, lam, lamma, li. Okay. So these are 4 hurufs. In means if, lam means did not, lamma means not yet. It means not yet when it is used with present tense. Okay, just keep that in mind. When it is used with past tense, it can be used with past tense, right? Then it means when. Okay, few hurufs can be used with past tense. So, for example, in can also be used with past tense. See here. So, but the change is when they're used with past tense, they don't impact the past tense. The past tense remains the same. It's like saying, if he ate the apple, then the apple would be finished. Okay. Now, if he ate is a if-based condition for a past tense. And the same way it is if he eats an apple, the apples will be finished. Okay. So now if can be used with a past tense or a present tense, just like in English. But when it is used in present tense, it makes it lightest. When it is used with past tense, it does not change anything on the fail. The fail remains the same. Okay. Lamma can be used with both as well. As I said, when it is used with present tense, it means not yet. When it is used with past tense, it means when. Okay. And this li is another li. You have the 4th lam now. Okay. So now the li, the lightest harf. We're talking about the lightest harf. Lightest harf. Okay. Now you have a li here. I would encourage you to remember it as li, as wal, and as fal. Okay, remember it like this. Wal fal li. Remember it like wal fal li. Let me just do it that way. Because many times this lam shows up with these hurufs waw and fa, and students find it difficult to detect it. So if you remember that this is the lightest harf that can show up as wal fal li, then it is easier for you to detect that. Okay. Going back to your notes, it means should. It is used quite widely in the Quran. The lightest form of the fails are used to build up conditions, conditional statements too. Okay, which inshallah at some point in time you will learn. So these hurufs many times are used with present tense and past tense, specifically the in and lamba. The one lam is a fail is a harf that actually pushes the meaning of a present tense into past. Right? So it did not. Yansuru means he helps. Lam yansur means he did not help. So that your entire context changes to past tense, to past, right? So lam is used to push the meaning of present tense into past. Just like we learned in the previous classes, iza is used to push the past tense meaning into the future. إِذَا جَاءَكَ الْمُنَافِقُونَ. When the munafiqs, hypocrites, come to you. The fi'l is past tense, but it is still used to indicate present tense meaning. Okay. Few examples here. So, إِنَّكَ in tazarhum. Now, this tazar was tazaru. Okay? And it is made lightest because of the in. If you leave. Okay. Lam tajidu. Now, this tajidu looks exactly like a light form, because in the light form, you also just remove the noon. You see, in the lightest and the light forms, they look all the same. They don't, you can't really differentiate them. And the only way to differentiate them, if it is light or lightest, is to look at which harf comes before it. Okay? So if it is lam tajidu, then you're talking about a lightest form of hair, of the fi'l. If it is anything else, an, lan, likay, is an hatta, then you're talking about a light form of the fi'l. Okay, so this lam tells you that this is the lightest form. Okay, from spelling's perspective and appearance perspective, they look the same. Lamma yazuqu. This is again made lightest. How do you know it is lightest? Because it has a lamma before it, and it's a present tense. Okay. Lamma yazuqu, they have not yet tasted. Not yet tasted. Okay. Now here's an example of fal yastajibu. Now, in this one, this lam is the lightest lam. So if you just remember it as li, you will not detect it. Okay, you'll say it's not li, it's just lam with sukun. Okay, but if you remember it as wal fal li, then you will detect this fal, this entire thing, right? Then you know, yeah, okay, this is fal, and I can see the fi'il coming after it, yastajibu, is also without a noon. So this is the lightest fi'il. Okay, and this next example is with wal. With wal. So I recommend you to remember this lam as wal and fal and li. So you will find it easier to detect, inshallah. Okay, clear? Understood? So as far as the theory is concerned, it's all great. It's not a difficult concept really to grasp. It's little too much in the intensive, so there's too much information coming into you. Just take it in, take it in. You don't have to become experts in this class. So you can take the information in and then go back and inshallah revise your lessons through recordings. Okay? Right. Now that we have done the light and the lightest, there are last two topics that I want to discuss with you. Okay? And they have some relationship with the lightest form of the feelings. Okay? And those topics are commanding and forbidding. Commanding and forbidding. Just before we start this, I just should remind you that in your notes, you have lots of exercises. Just go through them. So this is an exercise on page number what, 48, where you have to find if this fi'l use is normal, light, or lightest. Okay, like lam yaj'al, is it light, lightest, or normal? Li na'lama, is it light, lightest, or normal? And things like that. Just solve this exercise. If you get stuck somewhere, drop a line on WhatsApp. Inshallah, I'll help you. But you must do it. Okay? You must do it. I know how to do it. But I want you to know as well how to do it. So you must invest that time in completing it and in Only in that way you will benefit it and really own it, inshallah. So I will skip it and I will not do it, and I'll leave it for you. If you have questions, I'm one message away, okay, on WhatsApp. So that's what you should do on during your inshallah course of study. Don't push it too out in the future, otherwise you will make your concepts rusty. Now, commanding and forbidding is one of the very important topics in the Quran. So Allah commands us, forbids us with many things, and we need to know how that works. And that's the last topic of this curriculum today. Okay. Now, there are few observations that you should first go through. So first things first, you cannot command yourself or command or forbid yourself. Forbid. I don't stand in front of the mirror and start to command myself. Hey, Fahad, do this, or don't do this. Right? I don't do that, right? So nobody does that in sane mind. So you don't really command and forbid yourself. Okay. So this means the first person is out. Okay. The first person is out. You cannot command or forbid someone who is not there. If somebody's not there, who are you going to command or forbid? You just can't, right? So you have to be with somebody to command or forbid them. So if you look at the pronouns, the first person is myself, right? And then the third person is somebody else I'm talking about, right? Somebody else I'm talking about. Let's say Mr. XYZ, who's not there, okay? And I'm talking to you about him. So that person who's not there and I'm talking to you about him, I cannot command him because he's not there, right? And I can't forbid him and I cannot command him. So it doesn't make common sense. It doesn't make any logical sense. So the third person is out. Okay. So when you're talking about commanding and forbidding, you don't command in first person, you don't command and forbid in third person. You also don't forbid in first person. Okay. Another one, you cannot command and forbid in past tense. How would you? I mean, past is past. It's already done and dusted. So you cannot command or forbid anybody in past tense. Hey, eat. No, you can't say that, right? So it's eat, right? It's a present tense. So you cannot go in the past tense and start commanding and forbidding people, right? It looks crazy. So it doesn't make any common sense, right? You should also understand many time a command, let me just write, like a grammatical command is not a command. A grammatical command is not a command. So let's say uh, I go to my son and say, Rohan, go, go. Okay. Now that go is a command. I have commanded him to go. Okay. The next day he comes and he says, Baba, I went because you asked me to go. I really enjoyed it. Shall I go today again? That's the question he's asking me, right? What is he asking me for? Advice, right? He's asking me for advice, recommendation. Okay. So I might say, go, go. Now, today, I'm not commanding him. Today, I'm just recommending him. Okay. and I am just suggesting him or advising him. So command can be many things. Sometimes it's a permission, sometimes it can be advice, recommendation, it can be request. For example, if I go to my son, my poor son, I'm giving his examples. So if I go to my son and say, give me this ice cream, give me this ice cream. Am I commanding? Yeah, I'm commanding him to give me the ice cream, right? But when I'm saying the same statement, but I'm saying it to Allah, not to my son, but to Allah, can this be a command? No. Then it is a request. It's a request and it's a dua. Okay? Allah, give me this ice cream. Okay? So the same grammatical structure can be used for commanding, it can be used for suggestions, advice, recommendation, request. So when we build a grammatical structure that addresses Allah, it is all about requesting. It's about talab, what we need. It's about requesting. And when we are doing it for individuals, it may be about commanding, advising, suggesting, suggestions, recommendations, and so on, and permissions and so on. Right? So these are few things you should keep in mind when you're talking about commanding and forbidding. Okay? Forbidding is usually easier than commanding. Forbidding is easier than commanding. Okay, so grammatically speaking, it's much easier. And commanding is also easy. It's an interesting process we'll do, and inshallah you will see. Okay, overall it's not a difficult topic. Okay, so both of when I say it's easier within the easier umbrella. Okay, it's easier within the easier topic. So inshallah you'll find that out. Okay, so we're gonna start with forbidding. Um, Now tell me, before I start on forbidding, do you need a 5 minutes break? Shall we do a 5 minutes break now? It's almost 1 hour. Okay, let's do 5 minutes break. Come back fresh in 5 minutes, and inshallah we will start the forbidding. So let's see each other 5 past 10. Okay. All right. Thumbs up. Very good. 8 minutes. All right. 5 past 10. See you inshallah. Assalamu alaikum. All right. If you're back, give me thumbs up. We can start, inshallah. Thank you, Noor. You're back to Aisha. Very good. Okay, thank you. Right, guys, let's start, inshallah. Okay. So forbidding. Now, so far what we have learned is yansuru, which is he helps. Okay. Now, the forbidding and commanding, because the first person is out. Remember this common sense observation? The first person is out, the third person is out, because you cannot command somebody who's not there, and you cannot command yourself. Okay? You cannot command yourself or forbid yourself, and you cannot command and forbid somebody who's not there. The only pronoun set that you're left with is the second person pronoun. So that would be anta, antuma, antuma, antum, anti, the antuma, antuma, antunna. Okay? These six, anta, antuma, antum, anti, antuma, antunna. All the commands and forbiddings take place with these six pronouns. Okay, so your scope is the six pronouns. Okay? Now, we know he helps as a standard fi'l. Now, how to convert it to something like he does not help, or not he does not help. It's a forbidding statement. So say, don't help. Don't help. Okay? When you're saying don't help, you're not saying it to yourself. You're not saying it to somebody who's not there. You're saying it to somebody in this second person. You're probably saying it to anta. You're saying it to antuma, antum, anti, antuma, antunna. One of these six. Okay? So let's start with the anta. So if I'm saying it to anta, the second person singular masculine, anta, you. Okay? So I need to first convert my present tense fi'l into the anta form. Okay, so I know yansuru, and I know the anta form is tansuru. Okay, I know yansuru, and I know the anta form is tansuru. Okay, so that's your step number one. Change the fi'l into the second person. Okay, step number two is make it lightest. Make it lightest. So I know the lightest form, what it does is if it finds the dhamma, it changes it to sukun. So what I need to do is I need to do tansur. I change the last haraka to sukun. Right? That's my step number two. And my step number three is I put a la before it. So la tansur. La tansur. Now la tansur means don't help. Okay? La tansur. Don't help. Okay? Now let's try to do it with the anti form, right? So anti, I know yansuru, and I want to find the anti form of yansuru. If you go through your chart in the present tense, if you have memorized it, you would know anta tansuru, antuma tansurani, antum tansuruna, anti tansurina. So the form would be tansurina. Anti tansurina. So that's your step number one. You've changed it to the second person. Okay. Now that you have changed it to second person, step number two was to make it lightest. How do I make it lightest? I remove the noon because it's the case of a noon. Okay, so it's gonna be tansuri. Okay, that's step number two. I've made it lightest, and then I put in the step number three a la before it. La tansuri. La tansuri. Don't help. It still means don't help. But who are you referring to? Who are you forbidding? A singular feminine. If I come to one of you and say, La tansuri, okay, so I would be forbidding you like that. If you would be forbidding me, you would say, La tansur. Okay, you see the change? So let's pick up an antunna version. So now you've done the anta, you've done anti, and now we are looking into antunna version. Now, knowing Yansuru and knowing the entire chart, Antunna version would be Tansurna. Anti Tansurina, Antuma Tansurani, Antunna Tansurna. Okay. Antunna Tansurna. Now, again, now first step, I've changed it to second person. Now, once the second person is done, step number two, I'm going to make it lightest. In this particular case, what happens? We learned that the light and lightest in hunna and antunna form, they don't change. They don't change. Yeah, you remember this chart? See, is the lightest chart. Hunna and antunna, they don't change. Okay. In lightest and in the light form, they just stay the same. The only context is going to tell you if they're light, lightest, or normal, right? So in this case, it's not going to change. It's not going to change. Okay. So Tansurna remains Tansurna, and I'm going to put in the third step Allah before it. Not Mansurna, Tansurna. La Tansurna. Now, if I'm talking to three women, I'm going to say La Tansurna. It's don't help. Don't help. Okay. Getting it? Easy? Difficult? Any feedback? Is it clear?
I just have a quick question. If you
Sure.
scroll up just a bit, it says that you wrote Antoma twice. Is it supposed to be a different one, or is it just
Yes, this
missing
first one is
something?
masculine, the second one is feminine. If
Oh,
you,
okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
But yeah, twice because of the gender, but the principle is same. So let's do Antuma, so it's clear. Okay, so basically Antuma version of Yansuru is uh, Tansurani. In both cases, masculine and feminine, it's the same. Right? So you have changed it to second person, you make it light, it's Tansura, and then you put a la before it. La Tansura. La Tansura. Both of you don't help. Now you're talking to two, either women or men. Okay, if I ask both of you right now, because you're two of you, I'll say La Tansura. Don't help. Okay. So it applies to masculine and feminine both. The only one that's remaining that we have not done is Antum. Let's do Antum as well. So Yansuru in Antum form is Tansuruna. Tansuruna. Right? Now Tansuruna changes to Tansuru in the lightest, and then you put a la before it. La Tansuru. La tansuru. Don't help. Now you're talking to plural men. Okay? Let me do one thing for you. Okay. Sequence them a little bit. So wait a second. I need to tell you one thing. Let's take them on the second page. All of them. Okay. Let's go. Okay, so what I'm doing here is basically I've sorted them out in as per their pronouns. So this one was anta. Just this one was anta. This is antuma, masculine. This is antum. This is anti. This is antuma, feminine, and this one is antun. Okay. Anta, antuma, antum, anti, antuma, antuna. These are the 6 pronouns for which you would be building commanding and forbidding. Okay, so you look at it, it's in the sequence anta, antuma, antum, anti, antuma, antuna. Now you're looking at a sukoon, a, u, e, a, na. Sukoon, a, u, e, a, na. These are the 6 endings of the forbidding. Okay. Sukoon, a, u, e, a, na. Sukoon, a, u, e, a, na. I give you any fail. Let's say I change the fail yansuru to yakfuru. So as far as you can create the second person of that fail. So let's say you have a yakfuru, this one. Yakfuru. Now from yakfuru, you can produce takfuru, right? You can produce takfuru, takfurani, takfuruna, takfurina, takfurani, takfurna. If you can produce this fail for these 6 pronouns, then you can very quickly build the forbiddings. You can say la takfuru, la takfura, la takfuru, la takfuri, la takfura, la takfurna. All the endings are same. So sukoon, a, u, e, a, na. So if you understand this pattern, then no matter what fail is given to you, any normal fail, you will be able to produce these forbidding just by putting a la before it and making it lightest. So the formula for you is basically this one, la plus second, what am I doing? Wait a second. La plus second person lightest. That's your formula for forbidding. La plus second person lightest. So so the six forbiddings of yansuru are la tansur, la tansur, la tansura, la tansuru, la tansuri, la tansura, la tansurna. 6 forbiddings for yakfuru: la yakfur, la yakfura, la yakfuru, la yakfuri, la yakfura, la yakfurna. Yadribu. Let's take another one. So let's say yadribu. Yadribu. Now, the 6 forbidding: la tadrib, la tadriba, la tadribu, la tadribi, la tadriba, la tadribna. So it's the same pattern, right? If you understand this, And you can remember this sukoon, u, e, na. That's the ending, basically. You just have to put a la before it, and you're done. And what we've done previously is basically understand the process. So change it to the second person, make it lightest, put a la before it. That's how you produce forbidding. Okay? Clear so far? Clear, clear, not clear? And with practice, it will come, inshallah. Okay. Now, there are a few subtle differences that I want to teach you. So you can find in Quran statements like this. La tansur, which clearly is a forbidding. La plus second person lightest. You can also find statements like this. La tansuru, which is la plus second person normal. Okay, la tansuru, la plus second person normal. Let me take them into different lines. Okay. And you can also find statements like this, la yansur. La yansuru, la plus third person normal. And we said forbidding is not going to happen with third person. So what's the difference? So the difference is the first one that you have here, la tansur, la plus second person lightest. This is forbidding. Okay. It would mean don't help. Okay. The second one, where there is a la, there is a second person, but the second person is not lightest. This is not forbidding. This is a statement or an observation. Statement or an observation, meaning something like, you don't help. I'm talking to you, we're having a casual discussion, and I tell you, I want to help him. And you tell me as a feedback or an observation, say, but you don't help, right? You understand? So that's not forbidding. It's you giving me a statement or giving me an observation that you have noticed, right? So when you find la with the second person but not lightest, this is a statement or an observation. You don't help, okay? And the third one is a kind of should not sentence. It's a should not mode. Okay. So when you have la plus third person normal, then you're talking about no, it's not a should not. It is does not mode. Does not. Is a does not mode. So it means he does not help. He does not help. Okay, so because you're talking about somebody who's not here, let's say we're talking about somebody, and I say, ask him for help, and you say he doesn't help. So you're talking about somebody who's not there, and you're telling some observation about him, right? So that's this mode, okay? And there's another form that you will find in the Quran where you will have a third person, but it will be lightest. La yansur, it's going to be lightest. La plus third person lightest, something we never learned, right? Now this is a should not mode. This is where you are actually putting forward some sort of advice recommendation. For example, he should not help. He should not help. You see the subtle differences? So these are four patterns that you will find in the Quran. So the one we have learned in forbidding is this one. Okay? Okay? La plus second person lightest. That is forbidding for you. Everything else is not a forbidding statement. Okay? So I'll send you a screenshot of this, or you can take notes because this is not something in your notes. If you want, I'll send you the screenshot anyway, so you can have that in your records. So that's just information for you, inshallah. And when you go through some exercises, so in your notes, common sense observations are all here. Commanding and forbidding common observation, excuse me, and then forbidding statement, second plus and lightest plus la. There are some examples given here, right? So these are just example, normal, lightest, and forbidding statements. So it follows the same process, okay? And there's a small note about observation, like la taktubu. This is not lightest. It's kind of just a statement. You don't write books. You don't write. And la taktub means don't write. It's forbidding statement, okay? But the remaining two that I've given you, the does not and the should not, it's not in your notes, okay? Right. Okay. So now, the last topic that we want to cover is commanding. A very interesting topic, not very difficult. There's the little tiny thing in the end that is somewhat important for you to understand. But the process of commanding. So let's say what is commanding? So you're saying yansuru, which is he helps, and you want to say basically what you want to say is help, help. Okay, you want to command somebody, help. So you want to convert he helps to help. Previously you did he helps to don't help. This time you're commanding. Okay, so what's the difference? So the process is similar. So let's say we pick up the anta. The anta form of yansuru is tansuru. Okay, that's your step number one again. Yansuru, tansuru. In fact, I'll change the fail this time a little bit. I'll come to tansuru in a bit because I think that it is a little bit too complex. So I will change the fail to allim, allama, for example, for now, just as a starters. Allama. Okay? Allama means not allama, yu'allimu. Yu'allimu. Keyboard. Yu'allimu. Now, yu'allimu means he teaches. And you want to build teach. Teach. Okay? So let's start with anta. So yu'allimu, the anta form of yu'allimu is tu'allimu. My God, my keyboard is not changing. Tu'allimu. First step, change it to anta. Okay, the second person. Second step, make it lightest, just like before. So tu'allimu becomes tu'allim. Tu'allimu becomes tu'allim. Now there's a third step. The third step is remove the ta from the beginning. Kill the ta, just throw it out. Okay, so if you remove the ta, you are left with allim, and that is your command. Allim. So what have you done? You've changed, you took a fi'l in this third person, you moved it to the second person, you made it lightest, and then you remove the tha. The tha removal process was not in forbidding. It is only in command. Okay? So you remove the tha. That's an extra step you do in forbidding, in the commanding. Okay? So, and if you know the 6 endings we did, this one's sukun a u I ana, and if you ignore the la, you're basically producing the commands just like this. So you're saying sukun a u I ana, it's going to be allim, allima, allimu, allimi, allima, allimna. These are your 6 commands. Okay? So I'll do few here just so you are clear. Anta, antuma. Antuma version of yu'allimu will be tu'allimani. Tu'allimani's lightest form would be tu'allima. Noon is removed. And then when you have made it lightest, after that you will remove the ta. Okay? So you end with allima. Allima. Now at this point, when you remove the ta, you should ask yourself, can I read this word? If you can read this word, like allima is completely readable, stop there, and that's your command. Okay? Allim, allima. That is your command. Okay? Let's do the same process for antum. Antum, it is tu'allimu. In antum form, then, sorry, not tu'allimu, tu'allimuna. In antum form, then it becomes tu'allimu in the lightest form, then you remove the ta, and it becomes allimu. Allimu, teach. Now, in the first case, you're talking to one person masculine. You're commanding a single individual, telling me, for example, allim, teach. Okay? Allima, you're commanding 2 men. Allima, you both teach. And allimu is plural. You all teach. Okay? Um, antiform. Antiform is tu'allimina. Tu'allimina in the lightest form. Tu'allimi. And then you remove the ta. Becomes allimi. Allimi. If I'm telling one of you to go teach, allimi, teach. Okay. The antuma version in masculine and feminine is the same. No change there. Yeah. Let's take to the next page. And there's only antunna remaining. So antunna, let's say antunna. Antunna form of yu'allimu is tu'allimna. Tu'allimna. Tu'allimna in the lightest form is also tu'allimna because they don't change. And because they don't change in the lightest form, and you just remove the ta. So you say allimna. This is your command. Allim, allima, allimu, allimi, allima, allimna. 6 commands. Anta, antuma, antum, anti, antuma, antunna. That's the process of making a standard command. Is the process clear? Easy to understand? Don't think it's difficult process. It's just that you have to do it. Clear with the process? Thumbs up, thumbs down. Not too good? Very good. Now there is a subtle there's a subtle there's a little change in the command in some cases, which you should also know. Now I will come back to the yansuru command. So we had yansuru. We wanted to, let's say, make anta version. So this would become tansuru. Now, then we will make it lightest, which will become tansur. And now we remove the ta. So we remove the ta, it ends up with noon and sur. Now, question, can I read this? Because in this, on this noon, there is a sukoon. This noon, there's a sukoon. Therefore, on this noon, there's a sukoon too, right? Is it readable? No, you can't read it. So when you end up in a state when you have made the fi'l lightest and you cannot read it after removing the ta, you have to give that fi'l a crutch. Okay? You have to give that fi'l a crutch because it just cannot walk on its own. So you give it a helper alif. Helper alif, like this. Okay? Now, the question is, I've given it a helper alif, but what should it be? Is it unsuru, unsur? Should it be ansur or should it be insur? What haraka should I put on this alif? That's the question. Now, for that, you have to go back to the hua form. You have to go back to the hua form. And you know the hua form is yansuru. What you do here is you pick up the second last letter. Second last letter. This one, the one I'm making red. The sword. Okay? And you check what is the haraka on that letter. Okay? Now, if this haraka is dhamma, you put a dhamma. And here's your command. Unsur. Help. This is your command. Unsur. If this haraka is anything other than dhamma, you would put a kasra. Okay? Let's do the same process again. This time, I'll take a different fi'l. Sami'a yasma'u. Oh, my keyboard. Yasma'u. Yasma'u. Okay? Yasma'u means he listens. And I want to make listen. Okay? So I will change yasma'u to tasma'u in, let's say, anta form. Okay? So it's gonna be tasma'u. Tasma'u is going to become lightest. That is going to be tasma. Tasma. Then I'm going to remove the ta. It's going to be sin, mim, ain. That's it. And I cannot read it. Okay? I can't read it. Because I cannot read it, I give it a helper alif, asma, and I want to now find the haraka. So which haraka should go on the helper alif? So I go back to yasma'u and I see the second last root letter here, meme. And I'm asking myself, does the meme have dhamma? My answer is no. If it does not have a dhamma, I'll just close my eyes, give it a kasra. Isma, isma, and that's your command. Okay? I'll do that another time with another fail. So let's say, so you're super clear. ذهب يسحب يسحب. Yazhabu. Yazhabu means He goes. And I want to make go. And this time I want to make, let's say antum form. Okay, I want to make it an antum form. So I know yashabu in anta is tazhabu. It's tazhabu. And then I know it's tazhabani. Oops. Tazhabani. And then I know it's tazhabuna. Okay. Now this is the form I'm after. Anta, antuma, antum form. So I'm going to take tazhabuna. And as step number one, as step number two, I'm going to make it lightest. So tazhabuna becomes tazhabu after removing the noon. Tazhabu becomes tazhabu. Now tazhabu, I'm going to remove the ta because that's the step in the command. It becomes zal habu, and I cannot read it, right? Because I can't read it, I'm going to give it a crutch. Okay, now I've given it a crutch and I want to know what haraka should go on alif. So I go back to the Hua version and I find the second last letter. Okay. The haraka, I'm asking myself, is it dhamma? My answer is no. Because it's no, I'm going to give it a kasra. Is habu. You all go. Is habu. One more example. So you are absolutely clear. So I'm going to do antunna form. Antunna form of this one. Okay, tazhabuna is taz tazhabna in the antunna form. And tazhabna is still tazhabna when it is lightest. Nothing changes there. And I'm going to remove the ta, is going to be zal, ha, and habna. Right? I can't read it. I'm going to give it a crutch. So when I give it a crutch, it becomes this. And now I want to know which haraka should I put on alif? I go back to huwa. Is it dhamma? No, it's not dhamma. So I'm going to give it a kasra. Is habna. You only give dhamma when it is dhamma. Otherwise, you give it kasra. In a command, you will 99% of the time have either a dhamma on the alif or a kasra. You will very rarely, in some exceptional scenarios, find a fatha. Okay, in the command, you will find the kasra or a dhamma only. Okay, primarily. And those exceptional scenarios are a little advanced, so you don't need to worry about them now. So you'll know that when you do the surf studies. Okay, is that much clear? You understand the process? Don't understand it? Understand it? Understand it? Okay, good. So so this is commanding. So the entire process is written on your page number 50. The examples and the process is all here. Okay, so you start with tazhabu, make it lightest, becomes tazhab, remove the ta, turns into this, add a helper alif, becomes this, determine the haraka of the helper alif, that becomes is hab. Okay, and this is the process, haraka for the helper. If the second to last letter, basically second last letter, in hua form, is present tense has a dhamma, then the helper alif gets the dhamma. Otherwise, it gets the kasra. Okay. So this is example with the anta form, and this is the example with tansurna, which is antunna form, and this is another example with anti. You had tata'allamina. You made it lightest. It becomes tata'allami. You remove the ta. It becomes ta'allami. Okay, it's the same example. Okay, it's all in your notes, inshallah. So, and then there's a full exercise just like always. So you have to find if this is commanding, forbidding, or observation. Just look at the fi'l and put a C if it is commanding, and try to translate it based on the given meaning, and try to come up with a anta form or whichever original form, or say if it is forbidding or an observation. So just remember, in forbidding, you would always see la plus second person lightest. And in observation, you would see la plus second person, but it won't be really lightest. Okay, it's going to be normal. Okay, so that's the exercise. Try to do it yourself, inshallah. Um, any questions so far? Anything that remains unclear? No questions one, no questions two, no
I
questions.
have a question. So, like
Sorry, Aisha,
in the
please.
table with the exercise,
Yes,
I think it's a lot easier to see, like forbidding because of the la.
correct,
But
correct.
how can you tell the commanding ones?
You will only tell the commanding ones well once you know the present tense chart. Okay, so for example, this one, take a look at 8. So you have usjudu. You certainly know it's not forbidding. You know it's neither forbidding or observation statement. It has to be a command, and you have to prove it. So if you take usjudu, it was basically like this. I'll do it for you. And that's what you're doing in your mind. So when you find the fi'l like usjudu, uh, us, where's the yeah, you find usjudu. Now, what you're thinking, you have to actually do reverse engineering of this. Reverse engineering of this. So you have to go back and say, okay, it is usjudu. I see it is lightest because it's certainly not having a noon. If it was a full version of it, then it would be usjuduna, right? It would be something like this. If it was normal, it would be something like this. Now, usjuduna, this is alif, this is not hamza, so clearly this is put because of the command, and it is because in case if it was ana, it has to be like this one, usjudu. It is not that, it is just a plain helper alif. So if I replace this alif with a ya, for example, or a ta, like this, so I'm going to end up in the anta form, tasjuduna. Now this tasjuduna actually was made lightest. Tasjuduna was made tasjudu. Then the ta was removed and it was sin, jim, dal, wow, alif. And then you could not read it. So you gave it a helper alif. Alif, sin, jim, wow. Okay. And once you reach this state, then you had a question, okay, what haraka should I give to this alif? And you know tasjuduna. With tasjuduna, you can make yasjuduna, which is hum version. And from yasjuduna, you can make huwa version, which is yasjudu. So, which is yasjudu. And you're looking at the huwa version second last letter. So it's jim with a dhamma, so you put the dhamma on it. This sounds looks like a very complex process, But once you know the present tense chart, you can pick up what was the anta form, antuma form, anti, hua. This is not really a very challenging task once you know the present tense chart. So your objective should be to first firm up your present tense chart, only then come to this exercise. Okay?
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
And shoot if you have any questions, okay, on WhatsApp. So with this, you have completed this course. Uh, in the end, you have this exercise to do the grammatical analysis, and all of that you can do, really. So this is all Quran. So you can do all of that once you have really understood what you have learned in this course. For example, I'll do the first one for you. So so yanzuri, basically you are looking at a fal. This fal is basically one of the harfs that makes the present tense lightest. And you have the fi'il after it, which is yanzur, basically. And the kasra that you see down here, it's because of the tajweed reasons. So when you have a sukoon followed by alif lam, sukoon followed by alif lam, then to connect it, they usually put a kasra, but effectively, grammatically, it's a sukoon. Okay, so falyanzuril insanu. Otherwise, you would be reading falyanzur al insanu. So there's a disconnect, kind of hiccup. So to just maintain the flow, so whenever you have a sukoon and an alif lam after it, they would put a kasra. So when you see a kasra like this, consider it a sukoon on the fi'il. Okay, so it's a sukoon. So fal yanzur, made lightest, al insanu. Now al insanu comes from a concept of outside door. You have done the outside door in the previous class, if you have understood it. So the fail is in a hua form, and when it is in hua form, you can have an outside door as an ism in rafa, which is this. And ila ta'ami is jar majrur, harf of jar with its ism, and ta'ami he is an idafa, which is light no al followed by jar, and mudaf is the ta'ami, and he as a pronoun is mudaf ilay. So you can decode all of that yourself. Okay, it's just a matter of you finding some time to practice, challenge yourself, revise few things, come back to this exercise. So you certainly should be able to do all of that here, all of that. Okay. There's one last thing I will tell you about command before we conclude, inshallah. So I will take one important fi'il. You should do this. Yaqulu. Now, yaqulu. If I want to make, this means he says, and I want to make say, which is used a lot in the Quran. Okay, say. So you go through the same process. You say taqulu, and then you have to make it lightest, which is taqu, like this. Okay, and then you have to remove the ta. Okay, so you move the ta and it becomes. Now there is a problem here. The problem is the two sukoon problem. There's a sukoon on the waw and there's a sukoon on the la. This is all sukoon. Okay, this is a two sukoon problem, and you can't really read it properly. So cool, you really can't read it. Okay, and you cannot give it helper alif because from the beginning you can read it. It's cool. Okay? You can read that, but you can't read the end, right? In such scenarios, there are two letters you should always keep in mind. So there's a letter vowel and the letter ya. These are two vowel sounds in Arabic, the vowel letters in Arabic, and they are weak letters. They are weak letters. So when you have to make a choice, you can get rid of the weak letters. So what happens here, when you reach this stage, they would generally drop the waw because it's the weak letter and you make it qul. And that's where the qul comes from. Qul hu Allahu ahad. Say. That is a command. Okay? قل هو الله أحد قل يا أيها الكافرون قل أعوذ برب الفلق قل أعوذ برب الناس. All of that قل is the command of يقول. Okay? So that's one subtle thing that you should inshallah know. Okay? Before I let you go, yeah, I think that's it. So I want to just give you an insight. Mashallah, you've come a long way doing all of this. I know it was an intensive study. You've completed this course to almost 30 hours of learning. 30 hours of learning basically means if you're learning, let's say 1 hour every week, you're learning about 30 weeks. It's a good 7.5 months of commitment of learning. If you have a semester in a university where you have a lesson 2 times in a week, 1 hours each, you're doing it in a full semester. So you've done Arabic to a point where somebody would do in a university degree in a 1 semester time frame. So it's mashallah really good achievement. But I want to give you an insight, where do you stand and what could potentially be your next step. Okay, all of this content, as you know, was based on Bayina's dream program. So in terms of dream program, where do you stand? So if you know dream program, so you can go to dream.bayinatv.com and you land on this page, Ustad Noman's dream program. I'm his student myself, right? So, and you go in, I believe topics, no, like topics, I believe. Yeah, topics. If you go in topics, and if you go in past dream sessions, you have all of this dream program here. Okay. Of course, it's subscription based. You have to pay for it. So what you have done is the intensive one. So from day 1 all the way to day 10, that's what you have done. Okay. This content is this. So now, what do we have other than this? So you have the intensive 2. Again, 10 lessons just like this, 3 hours each. Intensive 3, intensive 4s. So this is 30 hours, 30 hours, 30 hours, 30 hours, 120 hours of Arabic study just in the first 4 intensives. Okay. Then you're talking about Dream Online Nahu. It's an amazing part of this course, this Dream. So you have the full Dream textbook, and it takes you all the way to 127 lessons. Okay, 127 lessons. These are around about 1 hour, 15 minutes, 20 minutes each. Okay, so again, at least 127 hours of study of Arabic, Quranic Arabic. Then you have Sarf. The Sarf study is a morphology study. Okay, so all of that, it takes you to all the way to 75 lessons. And during that, you're doing a lot of Quranic application, the surah breakdowns and all of those things. You're applying all of that onto the Quran a lot, okay? Because it's all about Quranic Arabic. Then it's online reader. This reader is to make you capable of reading Arabic without the harakats. For example, go on this website. Let's say this is a website completely in Arabic, and you can open up something here and you started to read. You understand what's going on here. Okay, that is what this section targets, and it has good healthy 31 lessons there. Okay, in Balagha intensive, it's really advanced. It's really getting the wisdom out of the Quran. Okay, I have a very nice book. It's called, I brought it here to show you. This is the book called Divine Speech. Okay, this is a book from Ustad Noman. It talks about the balagha and rhetoric. So how Allah uses such precise words, what is the structure of the surahs and all of those things. So all of that in here, and then there's lots other stuff going on. Very, very advanced. by the time you reach end, you have done few hundred hours of Arabic study in Quranic Arabic, and you are pretty capable of, inshallah, teaching and understanding Quran in various different ways. Uh, is this the end of the study after Dream Program? No, of course not. The Quran is a never-ending study. It is a lifelong study. You keep on going, and it always gives you something new. So the purpose I wanted to show that to you is with this particular course, you have just got into the world of Quranic Arabic. It's not the Arabic study. You're not learning the language. It's basically you're learning the Quran. Okay, so you're in this, you're students of the Quran. Okay, so you've started your journey. Now it's up to you if you want to keep on going with this. So my advice in conclusion to this course would be firm yourself up completely on whatever we have learned first. Don't rush too much to go, hey, I want to do the next phase. First, firm it up what you have done now. Your ambition and motivation to learn Quranic Arabic has to come from within. Nobody should be forcing you to do this. You do it if you want to do it. Okay? If you really want to do it, then go ahead with this. Okay? Because only then you will do it. This Dream program, if you, let's say, enroll in this, it's like $11 a month or so. So if you enroll in this, nobody's going to come and say, hey, take the class. You will have to go to the class, take it, because it's all recorded. Okay, so your self-motivation from within is super important. Okay, so learn Quranic Arabic. This will change your life, inshallah, in a very good way. It will change your generations in a very good way, but it has to come from within you. Okay, so I hope it gave you a good insight into the world of Quranic Arabic and the study of Quran. And inshallah, I pray that you all get the best out of it. And inshallah, your lives are impacted in a very, very positive way because of the effort that you have put. Okay. So I will be around. If you have any questions, any help required, I'm on WhatsApp. You can always message me. If I do offer something going forward beyond the intensive one, you will know that, inshallah, and then you can rejoin if you want to. Okay. So anything, any questions, thoughts before we close?
Not a question, but I just want to say Jazakallah khair for holding this. It's really enjoyable and I feel like I've learned a lot quickly, which is good.
Very good, mashallah. That's very good. Barakallah fi. Inshallah, all the best with your lives, inshallah. Keep in touch with the Quran, and if we don't speak again, then may Allah bless you. I will, inshallah, speak to you sometime, somewhere, inshallah, hopefully soon. Okay. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
جزاك الله خيرا.
Waalaikum
وعليكم
assalam.
السلام ورحمة الله
Jazakallah khair.
وبركاته.